I do find a lot of times, though, especially when we fuck doggy style, I just find that, I end up fantasizing about, like, it being a dog instead of him.
Welcome back to Other People's Lives. I'm Joe Santagato.
I'm Greg Dybec.
For anyone out there that wants to be a guest on our show, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can reach us at our email, oplpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just go to our website, oplshow.com.
And if you want to join our Patreon community, head over to patreon.com/OPL show. You can join the Discord, chat with us and other patrons, and your money will be going towards a bunch of different donations, charities. Basically, every month we're trying to use our Patreon money to give back to someone in need, a family in need, a specific charity, or maybe even start using it to kind of host charity events, things like that. But basically, if you sign up, it helps support the show, and your money goes towards whatever charitable donation we decide on. So today we are speaking with a woman who emailed us with the subject line Zoophilia. And I think the best way to jump into this one is to just read a portion of this email. So the email went, I have recently opened myself up to exploring some of the passions and desires I've had since I was a kid with animals. I have joined a community online of similar-minded people and would really like to get more word out on relationships with animals. It is something that is generally frowned upon, and I'd like to help open people up to something so many people keep secret. There really is a whole population of people living under the radar that have animal partners. So, we've got the guests on the line. First of all, thank you for being on today.
No problem, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So to start, can you elaborate on the definition of zoophilia and what you mean when you say relationships with animals?
Yes. So zoophilia really has to do with having a relationship with an animal, whether that be a dog, a horse, a cat. There's many different kind of variations of it. It doesn't have to necessarily be a sexual relationship, but it certainly can delve into those aspects. And that's sort of what I wanted to talk about today, which is the sexual intercourse between like humans and animals.
Okay. Is that something that you have partaken in?
No, I haven't yet. I actually had a bit of a kind of situation where someone I'm close to found out about my other activities of kind of being in this community online, and I sort of had to kind of distance myself from the community at this point. But it is something I'm very interested in partaking in.
So you just to be clear, that you are interested in having sex with an animal. Do you know which animal?
Yes. So for me, my attraction really like caters towards canines, specifically male dogs, and yeah, being able to be like mounted by a dog.
So my question, I guess, being pretty naive on this topic then, so if it does involve sex with animals, I guess what's the exact difference between bestiality and zoophilia in that case? And if I'm not mistaken, like bestiality is illegal, right?
Yes. I believe there's only one place. Well, there's a few places, even in the States, there's certain states that it's technically legal due to like certain omissions within the laws. I believe it's Norway that it's completely legal there, and they actually have like a lot of problems with like bestiality where people will like sneak into people's farms and just start like fucking their cows and stuff. And
Whoa.
it's like a epidemic there that really creates like a bad rap for the community. But it it's really the difference is kind of having that bond and relationship with an animal. Bestiality means, just taking advantage of an animal. I know a lot of the discussion within this community is with consent and how can an animal consent to having intercourse with a human. And it really comes down to like how the animal's responding to you. It is very clear when an animal wants to do something versus not wanting to do something. And I think that really kind of shows the difference between the people who want to pay attention to that and the people who would rather just satisfy themselves. So like, for example, I have a dog of my own and I don't have any sexual relationship with her. I view her mostly as my child. And, I have a very like mothering, parenting relationship with her. And I would never, cross any lines with her into trying to do anything sexual because I know she's not interested in that. But if I were to find myself like a male dog that was interested in like fucking me, then that's a completely different story. And I think that's why there's so much kind of controversy in that with things as well, because as a woman I think it's a lot easier to be into zoophilia because having something fuck you is like there's more consent between that than like being a guy and fucking something, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But how would you find yourself in a position where you're picking up on a dog wanting to fuck you?
It really is just like being around them. When you have a lot of people aren't familiar with unneutered dogs. Even with females, unspayed females, it's traditional for people to spay or neuter their animals. But when an animal is, for a female, when they're in heat, they have that want to be pleasured and to, receive, a male. And then it's the same thing for a male dog, except they're similar to us where they don't just have like a period of time where they're super horny. They can be horny all the time. So they will, kind of get frisky with you per se, kind of put themselves on you, try to like, hump the air around you. And it's really about reading kind of the body language a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, just to kind of go back when you're, I guess, explaining the difference between the two, because I do think more people are going to be familiar with the term bestiality than zoophilia. It's like, I'm not even trying to be funny, but you're almost breaking it down as like just a sex partner versus being in a relationship, like a one night stand versus like a girlfriend or boyfriend or something, where there's just like I guess like you said, consent and like a relationship aspect to it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and even with I mean it's so difficult because there's so many like thin lines that I feel like need to be treaded within this community. Like, any community that's out there for zoophilia is strictly against like animal sadism, which would be like hurting an animal while you're getting pleasure from them. And it kind of goes into that line of, bestiality is, really taking advantage of an animal. Like, they may not want to be fucked, or even as like a male dog, they may not want to stick their penis in you, but if you're forcing them to do that, or you're bribing them with treats and food and stuff like that, you're crossing that line where the animal is not instinctually wanting that behavior to happen.
So I have a question, because I feel like a lot of people are going to think like, why would she do this? Because although you're describing it like, the difference between bestiality and this, there still is the main question, or the main just kind of like for me, for instance, right? Mm-hmm. Oddly enough, my dog is in the room right now. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, okay, if I had some urge, well, let's just say it's not my dog, but I had some urge to be like, you know what? I would like to have sex with that animal, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. There still is this thing in my head that knows, like, I probably shouldn't do that. So you just don't do it, right? Like, what? Mm-hmm. So in your mind, what is the reason why you're like, yeah, I'm just going to like bypass that anyway, and I'm just going to indulge in this?
I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with sexuality, and as I had mentioned in the email, this is something that I can trace back to my childhood that I kind of suppressed over the years. And when I found this online community and was able to not just read about other people's experiences, but also talk firsthand with people, you kind of see that, yes, there are wrong ways to do it, but there's also right ways to do it. And those right ways kind of give you hope into finding, I guess, what you're looking for. Because those sexual urges, I mean, for me, it has to do with like losing control. And, I have my own fantasies and whatnot. And one of which is, like a rape fantasy. And I think it's like along those same lines of like when a male dog is like mounting you and, is locked with you, you can't do anything except stay there until he's done, right? So that's really what it's about for me, is kind of that losing control and kind of giving my body up for something else to fuck.
And does anyone else know about this, or is this something you're keeping like super private to yourself?
I've actually talked about it with some close friends of mine. Obviously, a lot of the reason a lot of us have to stay under the radar is due to safety. I mean, there's people who have had their lives completely ruined by people online or in person, and that's what a lot of the community revolves around as well, is making sure people are safe, whether you're meeting people or just talking to people. You have to make sure that your identity is kept kind of secure for the most part, because there is people who will do terrible things to you.
And your close friends are just kind of like, sounds good. Like, none of them are like, hey, maybe not.
I mean, when you sit down and like explain it to someone, of course, it's just like any fetish. When you're sitting down with someone and talking to them about these things that they don't understand, I mean, you can come to a certain understanding of it, but you're not going to fully understand it unless you also feel those urges.
Yeah. And I guess for you, so you said that this is something you kind of trace back to childhood. I guess when you say that, did you started having these urges when you were younger? And then I guess when did you find this community and kind of fully understand, okay, this, like, I have this desire, I have this urge, this fetish, and I want to be part of this community and I want to try this out for myself? How long ago was that?
Yeah, so going back into like the childhood stuff, I remember like being I was raised on a farm, being around like barn cats and whatnot. I would always find like when like a cat would be like licking my face or my hands, I would get at the time really turned on. And I didn't understand that obviously when I was a kid, but I would always just like feel, those weird feelings of like, oh, like what's happening right now, right? And you know, so those are the things that I can kind of trace back. I remember my sister had a dog that liked to lick like people's faces, and I remember she would like lick my mouth, and I would also get super turned on by that, but I didn't really indulge myself until more into like high school with watching porn and that, and kind of stumbling across a dog fucking a girl. You find yourself on all different kinds of sites when you're young. And I remember like looking at that and then just kind of watching that under the radar for a long time. And then when I found this community a couple months ago was really when I paused and kind of thought, okay, I think this is something that isn't going away and that I'd like to try and accept about myself.
Wow. It's actually interesting when you mentioned the porn, because I was going to ask that question. Like, is that the porn that you consume still? And also, do you also have an interest in like human to human relationships? And like, are you in a relationship? Do you want to be in a relationship? Do you still want to have sex with people too? Or is it just an urge for animals?
So with sorry, I'm trying to go back to what the first question was. So I am married. I do have a husband.
Oh, okay.
So I am, sexually active with him. I do find a lot of times though, especially when we fuck doggy style. I know, funny wording. They I just find that I end up fantasizing about like it being a dog instead of him. And
does he know that, like, while he's fucking you doggy style, that you're imagining an actual dog? No,
he does not. And I think that would be something that I don't think he would accept. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people within the community that have partners or husbands or wives that aren't accepting of it. And that's kind of where I was finding a lot of kind of acceptance and reassurance as well, was people kind of having the same stories as me, which is just having, someone close to you in your life that you share everything with except this, right? So yeah, I mean, there are definitely people who strictly have human to animal intercourse, but I am one of those people that do both.
one question just popped into mind while you were explaining this. if you were to have sex with a dog, say like tomorrow, would you feel like you're cheating on your husband?
I don't think so. I'm sure to him it would be different. But
How do you think he would react to that also? Because that's like that's not, getting cheated on with another human is one thing, but then finding out that it was a dog is kind of like 10 other things. So it would probably be a little sort of, I guess, confusing. Also, you described like sharing an actual relationship with this dog before.
Yes. I mean, I think if he ever were to find out, he would be very angry at me. I just don't think like he's one to really understand where I'm coming from, like on these things. He seems accepting towards like fetishes, but I mean, I feel like zoophilia is really just like a whole other ball game. So it would definitely be something that, I would just have to keep doing secretively. Even with like talking to people, like the unfortunate part is a lot of people in the community, it's not just arranging, oh, like, let me have your dog fuck me. It's also the guy being like, oh, well, I want to fuck you too. I want to have a threesome between you, me, and my dog.
Oh my.
So, yeah, there's really a lot of that.
There's levels.
Yes, there are levels.
So you would technically, you'd be like, well, if I'm gonna step outside of my marriage, it'll be for a dog and not like a random guy.
Exactly. I believe in people being able to explore themselves. As much as I don't agree with cheating, I did have someone in the community who I talked to who said, what you don't know can't hurt you, kind of thing, right? So, if you have to make certain sacrifices in order to explore yourself and, become your best self for yourself, I think that's what you have to do.
Yeah, this is like an internal debate I never thought I'd be having, because I'm just thinking to myself now, like, is it still cheating? And then I'm thinking from like the husband's perspective, would it be worse to find out that your wife was cheating on you with a dog or with another guy?
I mean, if I could I think the dog is probably worse because it's also confusing on top of everything, especially if there's an emotional relationship attached to it. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, obviously, for me, like, I'm not into this sort of thing. I don't really understand it or anything like that. So it is very like strange to me to hear, and we appreciate you just being completely honest and like saying all this stuff, because I'm sure it's probably not like the easiest thing to say or to admit to yourself to the point where you feel like indulging in such things. But yeah, I think that it would be. I think it would just. I don't know that it would even warrant the same reaction as like finding out that your wife is cheating on you. It would just kind of be a different, separate genre of confusion.
Yeah, and no, I mean, and that's fair, and yeah, I think but you speaking about this, like you're obviously aware of this and definitely understand. Like you said, some people found out and you kind of had to step back from involvement in the community, understanding how your husband might react. And yeah, I think that is fair to say, and being honest. I mean, we are super open to a lot of kinks, fetishes. We've had a lot of conversations on the show, and this does feel different, or like a different level, or even just a conversation I don't think we ever imagined having. So I can see, for you, why it would be so delicate, with your husband and people in your life, for sure.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, the point of me coming on here today is really just to be able to share that this exists. The community is, very small. But there are people in it from literally all over the world. We like people from Europe, people from, Asia, people from South America, everywhere. And, it's really about kind of making people, I guess, aware that this exists and that, it people need to be, I guess, more open-minded, because like even sites like Vice has done a documentary or two on zoophilia before, and a lot of times it's phrased in a way that is automatically going to give people a bias, right? Of kind of looking at it and saying, oh, well, this is weird and this is wrong and this is, whatever. And I think when we're approaching things like fetishes or something like this, which is even more of like a sexual orientation, it is something that needs to be delicate, and you need to figure out where the person is coming from. It, like I said, as long as I've always had the motto in my life of, as long as you're not hurting yourself or anyone else, do you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess it would be hard for people to just believe that you're actually getting consent from the animal. So if those people tend to believe that you can't get consent from an animal, then you will be hurting it no matter what.
Yeah, and that's why I said there's like a lot of fine lines with this, and also why it's easier for, like, in my opinion, a woman to, be into zoophilia compared to a man, because, you really have to tread those lines of what is right and what is wrong, and make sure that at all times your best interest is in the animal and not yourself.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that general sentiment that you shared before. And like you said, obviously an episode like this for us, like whether we agree with it or not, is just kind of, there is no denying that this community exists. There's no denying that you have this desire and urge, and you're being open with it. And we thank you for that. I guess what is interesting about this, and I'm curious how this kind of plays a role with you and like your attempt to kind of like pursue having sex with a dog and things like that, is the fact that I guess unlike other fetishes, this specifically has laws against it and could be seen as criminal. Like, does that scare you at all? Like knowing that you could face consequences for these actions if you were to follow through on it?
Definitely. It's definitely, like I've said before, with kind of protecting your identity. It's very important to do that. Even when talking to people, there's a lot of rules on the sites that say that, to not meet up with someone that you've been talking with for less than a year, which to me seems a bit extreme, but I understand why they, kind of put those precautions in place. It definitely plays a part in, whether, whether I even end up doing this or not. It is that thing of legality and being safe. And I think that also kind of plays a part in even like watching, zoophilia porn or, indulging in it as a whole, is the fact that, it is not viewed to be acceptable for a lot of people. And, it's kind of treading that line, right? I keep talking about treading lines, but I think it's really about that, is, sometimes that feeling of, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this also adds to the pleasure, right?
Yeah, that's it's a very honest take. If you were to pursue this, so like for you, you already established your dream, it would be a dog. So a male dog, you obviously kind of have your own, I guess, ethical lines, if you want to call it. But that means then, I guess, finding a dog, forming a relationship with the dog, that dog wanting to have sex, like, and then also, I don't know, this is like a stupid question. Like, obviously it's possible, I guess, but I'm like having a hard time picturing how this goes down. And like, not asking you to get super graphic about it, but I guess the question is like, how would you go about this whole thing? Because logistically, it seems like there's a lot of steps to make this work. Like, what would you do next?
Definitely. Yeah, it would really be about finding the right owner. If I choose to, find someone who already has a dog. Obviously.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off so early, but I guess it's just when you say that, just to be clear. So it would be like through this community. This isn't like going to a pet store or something, or like finding a dog. This is like there's people out there who own dogs that essentially they use these dogs to like lend out to people who want to have sex with the dog. Or am I making that up?
Yeah, I mean, relatively. Obviously, I mean, I have a dog of my own, so it's not as easy as just going out and buying a dog. Plus, I mean, depending on the dog you get, they might not be interested in doing that.
Yeah.
Realistically, the best way for me to go about this would be to find an owner from one of these communities who's open to these things already, and then kind of forming a relationship with the owner, and kind of making sure that, for me, experience is a lot. So having an owner who has experience with zoophilia, and then their dog also has experience with it, because not all dogs kind of respond the same ways. Obviously, humans have different pheromones compared to dogs. And the core sentiment of it all is making sure you have a bond and relationship with not just the animal, but the owner as well. Because it all goes back into that safety.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is, I didn't expect this conversation to kind of go this way, but, again, we appreciate you being extremely open and honest. And I guess opening people's minds to the idea that this exists and there are people like yourself that are living this life and indulging. Mm-hmm. So we do appreciate you taking the time and coming on and speaking with us.
Of course.
Yeah, no, thank you. Just like Joe said, we always appreciate the level of honesty that, some people bring to the show when talking about, sensitive, controversial, whatever you want to call it, topics like this one. So yeah, seriously, thank you.
Of course. And just a little, I guess, fun fact I'll share with you guys if you want to cover this in your afterthoughts. So the typical human man ejaculates between 3 to 5 milliliters of ejaculation. A dog will ejaculate between 30 and 80 milliliters of ejaculate. So it's almost 20 times more in volume. So in case, you wonder why so many people are interested in animals, a lot of it has to do with that.
Has to do with sperm?
Yes, and
the volume of sperm.
Yes.
Wow. It's a lot of It's a lot of cum.
Yes. And then just imagine the people who are into like horses or cows or, larger mammals. Obviously can get into massive, massive quantities.
Jeez. I think if you're going up against a horse, I feel like you're just putting your life on the line at that point.
There was that one guy with the infamous video on the internet who was fucked by a horse, and his like intestines and that ruptured and he died from it. The horse's name was actually called Big Dick.
Well, he is a horse. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not see that video.
He killed that he killed that poor man. But that guy went out with like a smile on his face. He was so happy. Like it's an inspirational story, I guess, of do what you want as long as no one's getting hurt.
Oh, someone got hurt.
Except that guy who died.
Yeah, but he was still happy at the end.
Wow. Well, all right.
We appreciate you coming on and dropping that little tidbit on us right before we wrapped up. But yeah, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.
Yes, thank you. You as well, guys.
Before we get to our final thoughts, we do have some sponsors for today. The first one being BetterHelp. BetterHelp is online counseling, so you can reach out on their platform to a licensed therapist, and they get you connected very quickly. You can start communicating with your therapist in just under 48 hours, so it's a very quick turnaround, and they have a lot of people that specialize in certain things. So if you're dealing with depression or anxiety, or there's some sort of trauma that you're dealing with and you feel like you need to talk to a professional, BetterHelp is a good platform for that. It is also customized, so you can do it through video, phone, or live chat sessions with your therapist. You don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. So yeah, they make it very easy for you to get the help that you need, and it's much more affordable than in-person therapy. And you can be matched, like I said, with a therapist in under 48 hours. On top of it being more affordable, you can also save some money. Because you listen to this podcast, you will get 10% off of your first month at betterhelp.com/OPL. That is betterhelp.com/OPL, spelled BetterHelp.com/OPL. So take charge of your mental health today. We also have Manscaped. Manscaped is the leaders in male grooming. Their 4th generation performance package absolutely changed the grooming game, along with their refined body wash to round out your hygiene routine. So for all the guys out there, you're going to want to join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped for their shower time routine by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code OPL. I have a bunch of their stuff, the care package that has everything in it, like the Weed Whacker, I believe it's called. It's waterproof. Yeah, I'm reading it now. 9,000 RPM. No idea what that even means. All I know is that it works, and 9,000 is a high number. Okay? So go to manscaped.com for 20% off and get free shipping with the code OPL. Like I said, 4 million men worldwide are using it. They trust it. They love it. So, get a new routine and get some nice stuff. Go to manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping with the code OPL.
That's all for this week. See you next week.
I am honestly, for the first time ever on this show, I am completely speechless.
You're a talker too.
I
That means it's reached a new level, which I agree. I think it has. I don't know.
That
I
reached
don't know
a new
what to say.
level immediately, and then it kept going. And then I thought it was over, and she's like, "Oh no, a bunch of cum."
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was just a roller coaster, just with no drop. Just we're just going.
And now I'm suspended in the air,
and that's
right now.
yeah.
And I don't think I'll ever come down.
Man,
Listen,
I mean,
oh God, I can't even. I'm sorry. So we're talking over each other right now. I don't even. The only thing I can say is like the thing that we keep saying is like, you know, the beauty of this show is that people are just honest. And we do appreciate that because although, and I know that I wasn't able to kind of show it with my face because I am just like, this is very strange to me. You know, like it's just not something I deal with. And honestly, not something I really agree with on any level either.
Yes.
But I do appreciate that people will just be honest about it and like talk about it. And I guess I don't even know, bro. I don't know. I don't know.
Man, you tried. You made it far. And
I tried, man. And I don't want this girl to think that I'm like trying to paint her in a bad light or anything. I just really just, you know, I just really just don't agree like with anything.
And I think she can understand that. And like, she keeps talking about like walking fine lines, and I understand, you know, like the ethics that she puts on this of animal consent and all this, but like, you know, I think maybe the difference with bestiality and zoophilia like gets a little lost when it comes down to like, if you're engaging in sex with an animal, and you know, she didn't deny this either, like whether she thinks it should be or not, like that's illegal in, most places, I would think. She said maybe there's some that it's not, but like I think this is like a felony in like most states.
Well, yeah, you can't have sex with animals.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So I feel like the terms become a little bit interchangeable at that point.
I think that they are pretty interchangeable. The only difference that I can spot, judging by the information that I was just told, is that bestiality is more like a one-night stand type of thing. Where it's like, oh, we're just here for the physical, and like also there's not consent with that. But also, who's to argue that there is consent with the way that she's talking about with zoophilia? But both kind of have the same result to me, and maybe I'm like, I guess, old-fashioned, or maybe narrow-minded too, which I'm open to being that as well.
I mean, I wouldn't be so hard on yourself in this case. And like you said,
I'm just saying it's possible.
Yeah. She knows the show. Like she knows, like, yes, I don't think we have to sit here and just blindly agree with everything because we are giving people a platform, obviously. Like
I would even go as far to say don't fuck animals. Like definitely don't do that. Like I would be like,
I would say that.
I will petition for that.
I would say that too. But
yo,
you know what was hard?
I'm like shocked. I'm shocked. I'm literally shocked.
Yeah, I think part of it too is going through the motions of wanting to be good interviewers, be good listeners, but like to then form intelligible like questions, but using the phrases that we had to say. Like I just never would have thought I'd be in this position. I don't know. We've had a lot of conversations that we weren't expecting on this show, but just I don't know, to talk very seriously about dog sex and relationships was I don't know. I feel different. I feel changed.
Yeah, and the whole time I'm staring at my dog.
That was weird when you started bringing up an example with your dog.
Because Charlie's right here staring at me. He's like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about it."
He's got that look in his eyes. He's neutered.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, but yeah, I don't know if we have anything else to add to this. I think we've made it pretty clear. But you know, like we said at the wrap up of the episode with her, and honestly, for her, she's not here necessarily trying to force people to agree with this.
No, just awareness.
This exists. She's doing it. There's a community, and that was a little peek into that community.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. For anyone out there that would like to be a guest on our show, don't hesitate. Send us an email, oplpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, and follow us on Instagram at OPL Podcast, Patreon at patreon.com/OPL Show. That's all we got. We got nothing. We got nothing left in the tank right now.
We got nothing left. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time.